Alright, it's time to climb the tower. This is the most difficult stage, by my measure. The time losses are also very substantial, whether it's from messing up the RNG, or just like missing a cycle on platforms, messing up your climbing. Also, there's a ton of spikes everywhere, so there's a substantial risk of death. So first we've just got to activate the elevator, which is pretty free. You want to dash onto it to trigger it as early as possible. The elevator ride itself isn't too bad. There are some of these helicopter guys, which as we know affect the RNG every time they attack, which isn't really a big deal since they're going to exist for the same amount of time every run, since you're just moving up at a fixed rate on this elevator. Just make sure you don't do anything that would cause them to spawn or despawn earlier, which generally just means to not jump unnecessarily. Just stand on the elevator. You can move back and forth and do whatever you want, reflect bullets. Don't jump, and don't kill anything. At least until we get to a point where we have to. You can do a short jump in between those shots to look cool, and it won't affect anything. We'll want to start charging our saber too. Here's where things get tough. So, as soon as we're getting to around in range of jumping up onto these platforms, the reference I use is when the elevator is going past that red section in the background, like around here. I like to jump up. You can jump earlier than that, but it can cause some problems. Namely, I found I was destroying that turret on the right wall a lot, and I don't want to do that for my manipulation. So just jump up and destroy that guy. Similar to hitting a wall while holding the shield, you will generally kick up smoke clouds if you hit a wall while doing a charge attack. That's fine. It's part of the manipulation to kick up that one cloud as we hit the wall. And then we get up here. Now, if you took the upper route in the factory, you already know how to do this corner jump, but in all honesty, you should probably not start with that one. This is a better one to go for. It saves a lot more time, and it's also more visually clear. So the setup's the same. We dash into the wall without pressing any directional buttons. Just dash in, and that'll leave you at a fixed location several pixels away from the wall. And it's pretty much the maximum distance you can be from the wall while still being able to wall jump off of it, which is perfect for getting this corner jump. It'll take some practice. You want to jump straight up until you're at like the very peak, and then dash jump over, and then just time your repress of A. You'll also want to stop holding left at some point. In my experience, it's like a tiny bit before you go for the repress. Though it is theoretically possible to just like go through without even stopping, but it's not something I could ever do consistently. So you just go up, stop once you're at the right distance, and then do the wall jumps. Like I said, it'll take some practice, but you can get surprisingly consistent at it compared to how difficult it might seem at first. Just give it a lot of time. If you mess up this corner jump, it's kind of a problem, since when you do get up, this guy's going to be shooting, and if you don't react properly, you're going to get hit and knocked down. Here's a better response to failing it. So you miss it once. Next time you go up, you know it's going to be shooting, so you kind of just stay low on the wall for a little bit, and then go up. Most of the time, if this happens, even if you react pretty well, you're going to get hit by something, either the copter or the Pantheon. It is just barely possible to get through like that, but As long as you don't fall down, it's not a huge deal. At least it's a lot better. Let's see it in action. So kill that guy and the one smoke cloud. Then jump up here. After you catch the wall, you'll want to attack to take out the Pantheon and then do a second wall jump to actually get onto the ledge. If you're kind of slow about it, you risk getting hit by those shots the other Pantheon's firing. And then for this one, you've got to attack twice to kill this thing. Once with the first jump, and another with the second. In theory, you should do extended jump slashes on the helicopter guy here. This attack should be an extended jump slash, because a lot of times you will start spinning and hit the helicopter with an unnecessary attack for 4 frames. Generally, I don't do that just because I'm more worried about getting the climb successfully. I don't want to make the inputs more complicated than they have to be. And then once we're up here, do 2 jumps on this wall, relatively full hops. They don't need to be super precise. And then you can get over on this side. Then we kill this Pantheon as we go by. This one as we climb up. And how I approach this is I just barely jump over the ledge, fall straight down, jump straight up, and catch this wall. There's a slightly different approach I'll show after this. And then you do 1 jump up there, jump across, and get over. This is something I've seen other people do. I can never really get the hang of it myself. So you go up here the same, but instead of jumping straight up, you actually go at this left wall and wall jump from relatively low on it, and you can get past like that. Like I said, it's never really worked too well for me, but it's an option if you want to try it, I guess. There's actually one other way I know of to get up that's around 20 frames faster than my method, I believe. It's pretty challenging and risky though. So after we kill this guy, we just stay on the right wall and go up on this side. So wall jump from around there, get past this corner, and then jump past the spikes, go back, get the wall. Don't wall jump from too high up or else you'll hit the ones on the left. And you're up. The biggest trouble I have is that it can be kind of tough to see like a good visual cue as you're climbing up that fast. Just because this right wall, it all looks the same. So it's tough to, for me at least, to get a read on where exactly I want to actually be jumping from. I normally actually use that like block on the left side of the screen as my reference, like as I'm getting Zero's feet a bit beyond that, which it's kind of awkward since Zero's on one side and the reference is on the other, but it's worked better for me than looking at the right side of the wall. And then getting past those spikes is obviously pretty dangerous. So, really risky strat to go for in a run. Wouldn't really recommend it unless you could get it really consistent. If you climb on the right side like that, your RNG will be slightly different. The correction to the manipulation that I do is to kick up 1 less smoke cloud throughout the stage. Normally we go for 2 with my regular manipulation, so you would only go for one smoke cloud if you decide to climb the right side like a crazy person. So you can either skip the smoke cloud here or the one at the end of the stage. Skipping this one's preferable because if you skip the one at the end, you will have a health drop like on top of you from an enemy later in the stage, which not only will cost you some frames but could throw off your movement. So in order to jump off this wall while doing a charge attack without kicking up smoke, what I do is I move close and then just stop holding right when I get to the wall and then do the jump instead of just holding right the entire time. It might take some practice, but it's not too tricky. And if you do mess it up, then it wouldn't be catastrophic. You would just kick up the smoke cloud here on accident and then deliberately skip the one at the end of the stage, which is much easier to avoid. And you would just have to deal with that health drop, which isn't a huge deal if you're prepared for it. Okay, so let's go up on the left side and see what's next. 2 jumps off this wall, and then you can clear these spikes as long as you're doing full hops. If you're not comfortable with that, you can climb a bit higher. You do want to be careful about your pace here, because these platforms are moving around on a cycle, and they can get in your way if you're a bit slow. And we climb up this wall a ways, and jump across the damage boost here. After that, we can use our iframes to jump off this wall and get up into this area. Nothing too tricky here. Just, yeah, have a lot of confidence in your movement so you don't end up hitting any of these spikes. Alright, this spot's kind of tricky. So after we take the damage boost here, climb up here, and then we want to trigger that guy to shoot so we can get hit and climb on those spikes. It's tough for a few reasons. First of all, getting that Pantheon to shoot at us. You have to be in like a pretty specific area of this room in order for him to think you're in range. To get there, we want to land up here and then jump off this wall. And if he's up there and facing us, he'll shoot. If he's already turned around though, because you are slow, he won't shoot. So it's very timing dependent. And then the second trick is actually getting hit by the shots. So we'll be jumping on this platform after we do the wall kick, and then right when it reaches the peak, you do a full hop and try and catch the lemons. If you're a bit short like that, you won't make it. The timing on when you jump here is pretty precise. I mean, you've got a few frames to work with. It's not super difficult, but it's not free either. You also need to have good horizontal spacing on this platform. If you're too far to the left when you jump up, even if you get hit by the bullets, you won't be able to reach the spike wall when you get boosted back, so it's no good. And if you're too far to the right on here, when you jump up, you'll normally not get hit by the bullets because they'll be too far on the other side. Generally, I just aim for being in like the exact center of the platform. You've got a lot of leeway, more if your movement's really good, because the better your movement is, the earlier he shoots, which means the bullets will be further to the right. Once you get hit by the lemons, you'll take damage, and then you start holding right to go up against the spikes and begin your wall climbing. You need to be very careful to recognize whether or not you're getting hit by the lemons, because if you miss them and then go to the right, you're just going to die immediately, and it'll look silly. Don't do that. If you fail to get up on the spikes one way or another, just wait. Jump up onto this one when they're both on that flat section of their respective tracks. Sometimes you'll have to reflect shots as you go past this guy. Not always, though. And then you just proceed from here as normal. You'll also see me start charging my saber here. That's not strictly necessary. You could charge it somewhere else or even not charge it at all. So, get hit, hold right, start wall jumping as soon as you can, and then get onto this platform. Here things get pretty tricky. So, I use that charge attack to kill that turret. Like I said, it's not strictly necessary. You could do a regular attack, but I like to kill them from far away like this. That way I have more time to get ready for what's coming up next. So coming up, we've got the most difficult trick in this climb, the corner jump. So what we're going to do is go up here a little bit, get to this wall, and then try and jump past this next corner. It's really precise. You'll have 1 or 2 frames to time your jump, depending on exactly how you're approaching it. There's an interesting thing about wall jumping in this game, where you can actually go off of a wall from further away if you are facing it. So what you'll see me do is go past it quite a ways, then turn into it, and then do the wall jump as I'm getting close. The further left and the further down you are when you do this wall jump, the better your odds are of getting past here. In order to make it more precise for myself, or more consistent, I like to have visual cues for as much as I can. So my reference for when to jump off this moving platform is as it's getting to this dark red section in the background. Then I do a nearly full hop. It's tough to describe exactly how I'm doing these wall climbs. It's just like the way I normally wall climb, because I have a specific rhythm that I normally go for, and I'm pretty consistent with. So I just go for those types of wall climbs. If you're trying to get good at this, I would recommend just experimenting with a bunch of different ways of approaching this corner and find whatever works best for you for getting really consistent results. Like I said, very tricky. Super fun when you get it, though. This next section's not too easy either. So, you get past the corner. Don't worry, I'll go over what to do if you don't make the corner jump later. Then, I move a little bit higher up on here, and go up to the block. Now, for this next block, the one up and to the left, it's actually pretty tricky to get on top of it because there's another one above it that's just off screen at the moment. So you want to approach it in a pretty specific way. That way you can fit in that gap there. So I use a visual reference on this first one, where I want to be like 3/4 of the way up the block, and then do a jump to the left, and as I'm hitting this one, do another jump, and it should space you just right. And then from there it's not too bad, just jump on this one, jump on this one, and then one more tricky spot. This is kind of like that jump earlier on, where I stood right on the edge and jumped straight up. This one's a bit trickier though. You need to be even closer to the edge, and you've got to time your re-jump pretty well, since you'll just barely reach the next one. There are some other ways of getting up these blocks. I'll go over them in a bit. If you find yourself on top of this ledge, either by design or on accident, what you can do is go over here, jump off that wall to get on top of this block, and then just do a full hop to the left and get onto here. You do have to be pretty quick though, or else the lightning on that first block will come out on the top, and you might take a damage boost there, which wouldn't be catastrophic, but it would slow you down. It can be a little scary with those spikes above you, but you don't actually get too close to them if you space it well. If you don't like that vertical jump at the end to get on top of the last block, here's an alternative. Instead, once you get on this one, you can jump over to the left, hold your shield to reflect that shot, then climb up, and then just do a jump all the way across onto here. Slower, easier. Let's take a look at messing up the corner jump. Basically what you want to do is get on this right wall as soon as you can after you mess up and just sort of hang out. Preferably without kicking up smoke clouds by sliding on the wall, though it will be a lot easier to control your position if you do that. So if you're scared and you don't mind messing up the RNG manipulation, you can just get on the wall and start sliding. Use your shield to reflect bullets as needed, and then just wait for this platform to be available. Make sure to do a dash jump off the wall. And then you can just jump onto here. Well, I prefer to jump onto here, but whatever. However it turns out. It's not too bad if you hit your head there. It's pretty easy to recover from that. If you miss the jump here entirely, a lot of times you'll end up falling a lot further, which can be pretty scary because we do have these spikes underneath us. Let's see. Yeah, like that. And also, that shot from the turret will tend to be in much worse positions when you're trying to get up, if you fall that far. So it can be a good idea to go out ahead of time to reflect it as you're coming up, and then worry about getting on here. If you're really not comfortable with the situation when you get onto this platform, instead of immediately going up onto that ledge up and to the right, you can just ride the elevator up to around here, and then once it's at the top, you can just jump off the block, and conveniently it puts you at a perfect spot to jump from in order to get the setup to get in this gap. So it is a bit risky to miss the corner jump. If you're not really prepared with the various ways it can go wrong, you can get in some pretty sticky situations and a lot of times die. So again, don't go for it unless you're really confident, both in your ability to get it at least sometimes and also your ability to react when it does fail, because it will fail. I don't imagine anyone being able to get that every run. If you don't want to go for the corner jump at all, here's the next best alternative. Instead of jumping from the platform around here, we wait till it gets to the very top of its track, and then jump off this wall and get over onto this platform. Then we wait until it's relatively close to the end of its track, but not all the way, preferably. The earlier you go, the better, but it gets harder to time and space the jumps perfectly if you try and go early. So around here is a pretty good time to jump. Then we go off this wall. Be careful not to hit your head on the corner above you. Get on the platform, and then you can go up to here. And this is actually faster than going for the corner jump and failing it, because if you do that, you generally have to wait for the platform to reach the bottom of its track. This one that's going up and down. Normally you would wait for it to reach the bottom, get on it, and then wait for it to go up. Whereas with this method you can get on while it's going down, and then still have time to jump up here. In theory that would be possible after failing the corner jump as well, but in my experience it's too tough to get yourself in exactly the right position to set that up at the right time. At least for it to be worth the risk. Now if you really want to play it safe, which is understandable this late in the run and in such a difficult stage, here's the most lame method of approaching this section. So we get on here the same as the last thing I described, and then you just wait. Reflect that bullet, jump on when it gets in range, reflect the next one, and then you're good to go. Super easy, very consistent. A good place to start. Alright, let's look at the next section. So we get up here, and there's not much left at this point. We've just got to climb this wall, destroy this turret in our way, which is not trivial. And then we're pretty much done. Reflect that bullet, kick up one smoke cloud there, and you're at the end. This turret, by the way, is the one who would drop health if you climbed the right side right after the elevator skips, and if you already kicked up one smoke cloud. But if you're following the route I normally take, that's not a problem. So I mentioned that hitting that turret is non-trivial, just because if your spacing is wrong on how you wall climb here, a lot of times you will bump into them as or before you're destroying them. So I normally go for full hops on each of these jumps, just so I have a very consistent spacing each time. But however you want to approach it, as long as you can get that guy consistently. Here's a slightly different approach I've been messing around with. Haven't quite got it down consistent. Whether or not I'll switch to using it, I'm not certain. So instead of strictly climbing on that wall, I do a dash wall jump there, and then another one off here, and then jump up and attack. Looks pretty stylish, and it sets you up at a good height for killing the turret. It's kind of wacky movement though. It would take some getting used to. Dash into this door is optimal. So there's something really interesting about the Rainbow Devil's behavior. When it chooses its first attack, it will affect the RNG value, as we expect. So you'll see it switches to 1113. But if we're standing close to him when he decides, not only does he choose a different option, the RNG goes to a different value. If we wait a bit and then jump at him, we get the 1113 RNG, and he does this spinning attack, which is the behavior we're looking for. So you wait a moment, then jump at him. Otherwise you'll end up with the wrong RNG. And don't wait too long, because as you saw, he'll just do this. Timing's not very precise. You'll get it in no time. How we fight him is also pretty unique. So we wait, then jump in, and he's not actually in range to hit with the first attack of the combo. So regular shield canceling, not going to work. What we need to do is attack twice, so we get the second hit of the combo, and then cancel with the shield. There are two ways I can think of that you could do this. You could either press both attack buttons, then start holding the shield, then repeat. Or you can do it how I, which is to press the two attack buttons really rapidly so that the combo doesn't get canceled even though you're holding the shield, and then wait a normal amount of time after that. Because if you just like spam the attack buttons, you'll go through the whole combo even if you're holding the shield. So instead what we do is like a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 rhythm where you press it twice really quick and then delay. That way it gets canceled. And then once he shrinks down like this, you switch back to the regular rhythm of just repeating single slashes. Once he goes up, back to the 2 hits. And then if you've got him down to 4 health here, when you get hit, you can just end the fight with a dash attack, which is nice because it puts you really close to the door and directly on top of where the Cyber Elf spawns. Again, you'll have to grab the Cyber Elf before it will let you out the door. It's kind of tricky to get that rhythm down, but it's not too bad. If your fight's really good, you can actually kill him before you get hit here. So that's fun to go for, if nothing else. This fight can be pretty tricky without RNG manipulation. I'll normally try and start out the same, just to see if I happen to get the perfect pattern. But if you jump really close to him like that, you risk getting grabbed, and you'll have to mash out, or else you'll take extra damage. It's a good idea to take some damage boost while you're fighting him, just because most of the attacks are really slow to avoid if you don't let yourself get hit at all. And you should have some health to work with, because there's not much you'll take damage from on the way up here. Generally it's just you're dead or you're not when you get here. You can play it pretty safe though, if you want. When he does this attack, just try and get in front of him and hit him as he drops down. It can be a really slow fight if you don't have the manipulation, especially if he tries to grab you a lot, or if you get low on health and have to start dodging things. 101 is possible. I've only ever gotten a 102.